Hey, I've got a new fresh HTML page that we're going to be working with, and this is the one that we're going to be using in the upcoming lessons to apply our advanced styling to that page. So this is just a very blank structure where we've got a number of divs that are contained within a main container area. We've got a little bit of a navigation bar going up here at the top, and as well as a footer for the content that we can contain and we can update. And we're going to be doing all of the updates using styling. So the first thing that we want to do is look at gradients. And gradients represent a gradient. So this is a data type. It's like a special image made of progressive transition between two or more colors. So let's select the first element that we're going to apply this to, and that's going to be the first div within the container with a class of 1. So make the selection of the element that we want to apply this to. And I'm also going to set up a height for this element of 400 pixels. And that's already full width, but I'm going to assign a width of 100% to that element. Save it. And now let's apply a linear gradient. So setting up, and just as we saw with before with background, and we're going to use the shorthand for the background, we can represent a linear gradient. So just spell out the property value of linear gradient for the background property. And then you need to list out the two colors that you want to have the gradient for. So this is a linear gradient, and you can also change the direction. So by default, it's top to bottom. So the top color is going to be the first one. If you want to select green as the first color and red as the second color, so green will be on top, red will be on the bottom. Let's take a look and see what this looks like. So we start out with green on top, red on the bottom. Let's try a few more and select the second element. So just going to do a quick copy of that and update the class. So now we're selecting to class number 2 with the element with the class of number 2. So we can change the direction of the gradient, and that just requires another parameter within the linear gradient. So specifying to right or to left, and we'll keep the green and the red colors. So now we've got the green starting out, and the gradient is moving to the right hand side. You can also go to the left as well. There's also diagonal gradients. So those are the diagonal gradients, and we'll still use the same two colors, applying two colors. You can actually even apply even more colors. So specifying to bottom right and using the green and red, and let's update the class so that we're applying this to the next element. So now we've got it coming in, starting out at the top left-hand corner and moving diagonally down to the bottom right, and it's still doing the same colors where we're starting out with green and ending up with a red side. There's also the angled gradient. So this can be set, so you can specify the number of degrees that you want to angle it. So you can get really specific with how you're setting up these properties. So instead of saying to bottom right, we can specify the degree angle that we want the gradient to come in at. So specifying whatever numeric value and then DEG. So that's going to designate it as a gradient. So now we're coming in at an angle of 50 degrees with the green on the left-hand side and the red on the right-hand side. So 0 degrees is equivalent to just top to bottom. 90 degrees is from left to right. 180 degrees is from bottom to top. And negative 190 is from left to right. So let's try a few other ones and apply that to the other element with a class of 5. I'll also add some spacing so we can move this up. So you have an option, and if you want to go from 180, so that's the starting at the green at the bottom and red at the top, or sorry, we need to do 0 degrees for the green at the bottom, red at the top to get the right angle for it. So green at the bottom, red at the top. So that just reverses the default, which is green at the top and red at the bottom, which is equivalent to 180 degrees. So you can also apply multiple colors. So let me go back to the top. I'll copy this and we'll attach it to the other div with the class of 6. So we can go red, green, blue, purple, and see what that looks like. So now that's being applied to the last div there. So starting out green, red, blue, purple. And then of course you can apply the different angles that we've already covered as well. So you can also be even more specific. So just go back into my HTML because I believe I'm running out of divs. Let's add this to the footer. So select the footer and we'll apply another linear gradient. And this one we're going to have essentially these breakpoints where we're going to say what direction we want this to travel. So let's do one that we haven't done, doing it to left. Specify the color, and before we end the comma separation, we can specify a pixel value for the number of pixels that it's going to go. Let's do one for blue as well. Pix, and then lastly, we'll just finish it off with purple. So the rest of it will be filled with purple. Let's see what our footer looks like. And let me just double check. Yeah, I do have a footer down there, and I am saving it. And I did have an error there. I left the C in there. That's why it wasn't working. So now we are specifying that we're going to the left. So we're starting out, and we've got the red, and I believe it was the blue, and then lastly the purple color. So it's blending those in depending on what the values we are here. You can also set it by percentage, so that sometimes works better. So let's do red 25%, and we'll do blue 25%. And then let's make this not blended in with blue very well. We'll do it as yellow. So now we've got 25% red, 25% blue, and then the rest is blended with blue and yellow for the remainder of the 50% that's left within the element size. So coming up next, we'll do radial gradients. So this was covering the linear gradients, and the radial gradients are very similar. So go ahead and try out the linear gradients, and you can be ready to move on to the next lesson.